Hello folks, Crazy Bob back again. Some of you may have wondered why I have not been putting out videos. Well, a lot has gone on in the last few months. So for one, I no longer have any BMWs except for the i3. So the X4 sold, the X5 sold, and by accident I wound up buying this baby right here. And there's another baby up in the upper garage that yeah, a lot of you, those of you that are BMW fans, will probably be like, what the hell, this guy's crazy. But nonetheless, I want to introduce you to a 1995 Chrysler New Yorker with, get this, 18,500 miles on it. So kind of let that simmer in for a second. This thing has original 18,500 miles. Let's take a look at it. So the Euro spec versions of these had simple differences. As you can see right there, the license plate area was wide. It also had these little fog lights in the back, and the taillights were orange turn signals. So that was the big difference between the US and the Euro spec. These little side marker lights were also a strange anomaly, only on the EU version Chryslers. So the headlights were another thing. They had to have this little E on it, and without the E, they were not allowed to import them. So the light pattern in Europe is a little different. The other strange anomaly to the Euro spec versions was this right here. That little symbol right there symbolizes a rear fog light, and this symbolizes the front fog lights. So only the Euro spec models had this rear fog light. Wish you could smell what I'm smelling. This is actual new car smell going on in here. No saggy headliner. No wear to be seen. Let's take a look at that back there. And let's take a look at the mileage since we're here. And don't be fooled, it's not 27,000. That's 27,000 kilometers. And the other thing that was quite peculiar is you had this little computer setup up in the dash, and it's blinding a little bit right now, but it's saying that I average 11.5 liters. So let's set that to US. That would be 20 miles to the gallon. So you could actually become a math lazy kind of guy. So in any case, it had this board computer. You could set everything from trip to how long it's going to take you to get somewhere. Really kind of a neat little feature for the 90s. So something that was quite interesting was this navigation right here. So this is not original to Chrysler. The original radio, they took out in 1995, mind you, 96 when they bought this. They took out the original radio and put this in. And believe it or not, this is a navigation. If I turn it on, you'll see Becker made it. And we'll go ahead and turn it down a little. And you'll see that if I go to nav, I can actually put in an address. Is that crazy or what? I mean, you're talking 1996, they had navigation in their car. So for you young folks out there watching, that's a big deal. In 96, nobody had navigation. We all had little maps in our glove boxes. So anyway, this little nubby right here was basically for the Euro spec only. So the Europeans did not make it easy for folks. Because what they did is they actually said, hey, you guys use a frequency of 315 megahertz to send your signals. We don't like that signal. That signal's not approved. So Chrysler had to come up with a better way. So believe it or not, instead of using a 433 megahertz signal, Chrysler's solution was to put that nubby on the dash and have an infrared signal. Now, the problem with that is, as those of you that are familiar with infrared know, you have to have a line of sight. And the line of sight has a little window in the front. So whenever I want to open the trunk, I have to walk to the front, click the button to unlock the trunk, and then go back to the trunk. I'll demonstrate in a moment. So I want to unlock the trunk. Nothing happens. I've got to walk to the front of the car, to the little nubby, and then back to the back, and there it is. My trunk is open. So this was the asinine crap that Euro spec or the Euro folks pulled on American cars coming into Europe at the time. So there was a lot of little stupid rules that they did, and it was, in my opinion, it was to just basically keep the American market out of Europe. But nonetheless, they circumvented it, and that was the solution. And that's what we call a trunk. So if you wanted to, you could technically kind of curl up and have a nice little nap in there. Absolutely amazing. And as would be appropriate for the mid-90s, a full-size spare with an aluminum wheel. So sitting in the back of one of these was like being basically a king, or at least a prince. Look at the headroom. Thanks to the sloping rear of the designers. Look at the knee room and leg room. That front seat is set all the way back to me. It was really a king-like feeling. I feel like I should have a chauffeur in the front. The leather, it had this plush leather that extended over here to this area. I mean, really good job for Chrysler back in the day. I'm amazed that this car only has 18,500 miles on it. So let's take a look at the engine bay, and I'll show you how nice that looks. So the crazy thing about this is an 86-year-old woman up near the Ostsee here in Germany actually had this car, and she kept it in a garage. Her husband bought it new for 100,000 marks. Kind of let that simmer on your tongue a little bit. So back in the 90s, it was hard for American spec vehicles to be sold in Germany as Euro spec. And this car was specifically made for the European market. And so it was 100,000 marks. So they paid 100,000 marks for this car, which is, back in the day, that would have been split, would have been 50,000 euros if you look at today's money. But then take 1995, 50,000 euros and turn it into 2022, 50,000 euros. You're talking, this was probably a, you know, in today's market, €100,000 car. Absolutely insane. Considering the same car in the States at the time was somewhere around $25,000. So really crazy. But this 86-year-old woman had it. She still drove it occasionally. She said they only took it out on Sundays and for leisure trips, and it was their cruiser. So let me show you around the car a little more. So the engine bay, as expected, is also as new. The battery's been replaced, and that is about it. And so it was a 24-valve engine, had a timing belt, which is kind of, for a big V6 like this, kind of interesting. So the timing belt sits right below here, and that I replaced the water pump and the spark plugs and all the fluids. But aside from that, this engine is as it came out of the factory. Now the Germans, they tended to, on their new vehicles, they put this clear coat, and unfortunately this clear coat would turn kind of yellow over time, and they sprayed it. It was a special clear coat that they sprayed on the engine to protect it from oxidizing, which it did that, but as you can see here, it kind of looks a little freckly after a while. So I'll probably try to somehow remove that and make it look pretty again. So I hope you enjoyed the video. So that's what I've been up to. I have a 1995/96 Chrysler New Yorker. Did I think I was ever going to drive around in a boat like this? No. And do I drive it all the time? No. The mileage is just too low to, you know, get out there and drive it all the time. So this is kind of a car that I'm going to continue to drive as the 86-year-old lady that I bought it from and her prior husband did. They drove it on Sundays, and that's what I'll probably do once a month. Maybe take it out, drive it around on a Sunday. It's too nice to drive every day. So on that note, I also bought another car from the same 86-year-old lady, because what we were really looking for is a 6-passenger vehicle for a bunch of folks that are coming over to visit us, and more on that in the next video. So take care.